Karen's obsession with control and domination escalated further, this time crossing a legal line that would cost her dearly. She attempted to illegally tap my property's power, presumably thinking she could secretly manipulate utilities to assert authority or coerce compliance. She clearly had no understanding of the consequences she was inviting. The moment she accessed the lines, I was prepared. My prior experience with petty HOA harassment had taught me to expect the unexpected, and every inch of my property had safeguards. The tap didn't go unnoticed. It triggered immediate alerts to my monitoring system, and the evidence was captured in real time. Karen must have assumed that her actions would be invisible or go unpunished, but instead, she walked directly into a legal trap. When law enforcement arrived, the shock on her face was almost comical. Her confidence, built on repeated past attempts to bully or intimidate us, dissolved instantly. She had imagined she could act with impunity, but the reality of her crime, a blatant, intentional tampering with utilities, was unmistakable. Handcuffs replaced her smug expressions, and the lesson was clear. The law does not bend to HOA whims, nor does it excuse repeated harassment. Her failed schemes were no longer just petty annoyances. They had escalated into criminal behavior. Each prior confrontation had built upon the last, preparing us for moments like this. When Karen tried to argue or deflect, she was met with legal documentation, video evidence, and a calm but unwavering explanation of the consequences she faced. The absurdity of her prior arrogance contrasted sharply with the reality of her situation. She had overstepped, and there would be repercussions. What was remarkable, though, was how her own overconfidence had made the setup almost inevitable. She had repeatedly violated property boundaries, ignored HOA regulations where it suited her, and acted without foresight. By attempting to tamper with my power lines, she had escalated from harassment to a crime punishable by law. It was a moment of poetic justice, the culmination of months of reckless behavior. The community watched with mixed reactions. Some were stunned by the audacity she had displayed over the months, while others felt vindicated to see justice take its course. Karen, who had once wielded authority as if it were absolute, was now subject to the same rules she had tried to manipulate. She had underestimated not just the law, but the preparation, vigilance, and resolve of those she targeted. Her arrest marked a turning point in the ongoing saga. It sent a message to the community, to the HOA, and to anyone who might consider abusing authority. Actions have consequences, especially repeated ones. Karen had built a tower of arrogance and entitlement, and it collapsed spectacularly under the weight of its own recklessness. Even after the handcuffs clicked and she was taken away, her schemes continued to reverberate. The damage she thought she could inflict, disruption of utilities, intimidation, property harassment, was minimal compared to the consequences she faced. Her failure became a lesson not only for her but for anyone who might have thought they could bend rules through coercion or deceit. This incident also revealed a deeper truth about preparedness and vigilance. Years of careful planning, legal knowledge, and defensive measures had turned what could have been a minor harassment into a decisive victory. Karen's attempt to seize power through illegal means had backfired completely, reinforcing the idea that reckless ambition, when unchecked by law or foresight, leads to inevitable downfall. By the end of the ordeal, Karen had become a cautionary example. Her repeated harassment, once a source of tension and fear, had culminated in legal consequences severe enough to stop her in her tracks. The HOA's false sense of authority, when combined with her recklessness, had created a perfect storm, one she could neither anticipate nor escape. It was clear to everyone involved. Crossing certain boundaries, especially repeatedly, invites consequences that cannot be negotiated away. Her handcuffs, the looks of disbelief, and the whispered warnings to other HOA members were all reminders of a simple truth. Karen had finally met her match. What she thought would be a small act of intimidation had turned into the final chapter of her unchecked ambition, leaving her humiliated, defeated, and firmly reminded that she was no longer in control.